Have you ever noticed? The more you try to control life, the more it slips through your fingers. We cling to our plans, to people, to outcomes, as if holding tight enough could make everything stay still. But the tighter we grip, the more we tire. The more we hold on, the more it burns like clutching a rope that's pulling in the other direction. We think holding on will protect us from pain, but sometimes it's the holding on that is the pain. There's an old Zen saying that's as sharp as it is true. Let go or be dragged. It's not life that drags us. It's our refusal to accept what is. And in that gray space between control and uncertainty, we exhaust ourselves. But what would happen if you paused, if you let go? Not giving up, but letting go of the illusion of control. Let's explore together why letting go is not weakness, but the doorway to your deepest inner strength. 1. Observing. Without absorbing, that is mindfulness. Have you ever tried simply watching the rain fall without running for cover, no analyzing why it's raining? No complaining about ruined plans, no rushing to reschedule, just sitting there, listening to the rain, smelling the earth, feeling the cool drops on your skin, adding nothing, taking nothing away. That's the heart of mindfulness. No controlling, no avoiding, just being fully present with what is without letting it consume you. Mindfulness isn't some mystical state reserved for monks in caves. It's a life skill, deeply human, deeply real, that helps you stay grounded without being swept away. In modern life, you're taught to reply quickly, react fast, fix things now. But rarely are you taught the wisdom of simply pausing. Pausing to see. Pausing to not get pulled into the noise. You are not your anger. You are not your sadness. You are not the thought that passed through your mind 5 minutes ago. But if you never pause, if you never observe, those things will carry you away like waves dragging a leaf. There's an image I often share with people who feel overwhelmed by their own sensitivity. Your mind is the sky. Every emotion, thought, or worry just passing clouds. Some are white, some gray, some carry thunder. But the sky never holds on to the clouds. It lets everything pass. No interference, no attachment. Most of us, though, live like containers. Every criticism, every bit of negativity, every small daily stress poured in until we overflow. Then we call it stress. We call it trauma. We call it burnout. But what we really need is not a tighter lid. We need a window, so things can pass through, not stay stuck inside. You are allowed to feel everything, but you don't have to hold everything. A Zen master once told his student, "When you're angry, look at your anger like a crying child. Don't yell, don't suppress, but don't let it drive the car either." Observing means seeing the anger, seeing it arise, feeling it burn, but not letting it sit in the driver's seat of your life. That is where freedom begins. Not when everything in your life is perfect, but when nothing inside you is being hijacked. You're no longer absorbing every opinion thrown at you. You're no longer carrying the weight of every emotion someone else projects. You just observe and let it pass. Have you ever found yourself completely drained from just one unfriendly glance, one harsh comment, one short online message, only because you absorbed it, because you forgot. You don't have to believe everything you hear, even from your own mind. Mindfulness in Buddhist teaching isn't a way to escape emotions. It's the path through them, lit by the lamp of awareness. When your mind is illuminated by mindfulness, it's no longer reactive. It doesn't lash out. It doesn't injure itself with thoughts that aren't worth carrying. Once someone asked the Buddha, "Why do small things hurt me so much?" The Buddha replied, "Because you forgot. You can observe without holding, feel without clinging. Just think. If you're sad today, could you simply notice, 'I am feeling sadness,' without needing to explain it, fix it, or run away from it? That sadness would stop being a chain. It would become a passing cloud. And little by little, you would stop being a sponge. You would become the sky. The sky doesn't choose its clouds. It doesn't dodge storms. It doesn't reject the rain. But it's never tainted by them. It simply holds and lets go, and so can you. You can learn to watch things come and go without carrying them all. That is mindfulness. That is light. That is the freedom that arises from within. So if today your heart feels heavy, try this. Sit down. Be still. Don't do anything. Don't force yourself to be positive. Don't chase a solution. Just breathe and observe. Notice what your mind is holding on to. Notice what's screaming for your attention, trying to convince you it's the truth. And slowly, you'll see, not everything is you. Not everything needs to stay. And that's when you begin to let go. Not by forcing it, but by seeing clearly. When you can live like this, not absorbing everything, not being swept away, it's not weakness, it's awakening. Because you are not the clouds, you are the sky. 2. Conscious response is a sign of wisdom. Have you ever said something in anger and then felt a wave of regret crash over you afterward? Sometimes it only takes a look, a word, or something not going your way, and suddenly you react. In a flash, sharp as a blade. That reaction doesn't come from calm or clarity. It comes from somewhere deep in the unconscious. From old wounds that never healed. From an ego still too easily bruised. You're not alone. Most of us live like that on autopilot. One wrong word and your blood pressure rises. Something unexpected happens, and you're already anxious, defensive, or upset. And afterward, you're exhausted. Not because the situation was so bad, but because your reaction was so immediate. Unconscious reaction is the shortest road to suffering. But something begins to shift when you learn to pause. Just for a moment, a single breath, a brief stillness between what happens and how you respond. The Buddha once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies freedom, wisdom, and liberation." Mindfulness is nothing more than the art of stepping into that space. When you're insulted, you could snap back, or you could breathe. When a plan falls apart, you could blame and complain, or pause to remember what truly matters. When someone treats you unfairly, you could get angry, or gently ask, "Do I need to react right now?" That small question can open the door to awareness. Because every time you react unconsciously, you lose a piece of yourself. But every time you pause and choose a conscious response, you're practicing prajna, the awakened wisdom the Buddha spoke of, the kind that rises above habit and reactivity. The truth is, many of our reactions aren't about solving anything. They're just attempts to soothe our discomfort. Ironically, though, the quicker we react, the more unsettled we become, and often we leave more damage in our wake for ourselves and for others. In Buddhist teachings, this is called the emotional cycle of samsara. A hurt person lashes out. The other person reacts. Pain multiplies like a wheel spinning endlessly. But the wheel can slow down if just one person chooses not to spin it. You can be that person. You don't have to always be right. You don't have to answer right away. You don't have to win every argument. You just need to stay rooted in clarity. That makes you the strongest person in the room. There's a beautiful Zen saying, when the archer shoots for fun, he never misses. But when he shoots for a prize, he loses focus. Why? Because he's no longer present. He's trapped in fear of failure, obsessed with outcome. He's no longer himself. And that's how life feels when you live from constant reaction. You're in defense mode. You're tense. You're disconnected from peace. But when you pause and respond with awareness, you're living from stillness, not from chaos. Stillness means clarity. Chaos means attachment. And when your mind is clear, you know what's worth saying and what's best left in silence. You begin to recognize. Not everyone deserves a response. Not every situation needs a winner. Not every word needs a reply. You begin to choose peace over power, understanding over proving, compassion over anger. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Think about the people you admire most. Weren't they the calmest ones in the storm? Not the loudest? Not the quickest to snap? But the ones who stayed steady when things fell apart. That stillness wasn't something they were born with. They practiced it. They trained their minds to be like a quiet lake, so calm it reflects the entire sky. You can do that too. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need to meditate for 10 hours a day. You just need to pause every time your emotions rise. Just one breath. One moment of turning inward. And in that moment, wisdom is born. Wisdom doesn't wait for 10 years of practice. It arrives the very second. You choose not to let anger take over. And that, my friend, is enough. 3. You don't need to control. You just need to be present. Have you ever had one of those days where nothing goes as planned? A phone call throws off your entire schedule. A loved one acts out of character. And deep inside, something just feels off, even if you can't quite explain why. So you try to take control. You tense up, hoping to put everything back in order. You fix your words, refresh your emails, force your emotions to shift. Try to change the mood. But the more you try to control things, the more tangled they become. Your emotions don't obey. People don't change. And life keeps being life. And you feel exhausted. Not because there's too much to do, but because you're trying to do the impossible to control what can't be controlled. In Buddhism, there's a simple truth that many people overlook. Life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be experienced with presence, Control is just fear in disguise. We try to control because we're afraid. Afraid of loss. Afraid of failure. Afraid of being hurt. But here's the paradox. The tighter you hold on, the more you lose. You lose peace. You lose connection. You lose yourself. But presence, that's something different. When you stop trying to control, clarity returns. You stop forcing people to be a certain way and start seeing them as they are. You stop resisting your emotions and begin to listen to them. You stop living in the someday and come home to right now. Just be present. Just breathe. Just bring your mind back to where your body is. You don't need to control the rain. You can simply take shelter or get wet. You don't need to direct the wind. You just need to know where you stand. You don't need to make others understand you. You just need to understand yourself in this moment. There's a powerful question in Buddhist meditation. In this moment, if I stop trying to fix everything, what's left? What remains when you stop trying to think differently, feel differently, be different? What's left is you. You in your most honest, unguarded, and natural state. Not striving, not defending, not becoming, just being. And this being, as simple as it sounds, is one of the rarest and most sacred gifts of awareness. Because when you're truly present, you begin to notice what others don't say. You begin to feel what you haven't yet named. And you step out of autopilot into real life. The Buddha never told us to master the world. He taught us to master ourselves by letting go of what cannot be held, by simply being with what is. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the Buddha says, when walking, know you are walking. When sitting, know you are sitting. When breathing in, know you are breathing in. When breathing out, know you are breathing out. It sounds simple, but if you actually practice it, something shifts. Not because life becomes easier, but because you stop trying to force it to be. You stop trying to fix every moment, and instead begin living in each moment fully. And in that presence, something becomes very clear. You no longer need to control, because you're no longer lost. The mind only loses peace when it leaves the now to chase the past or fear the future. But when it returns to this very moment, peace is always here waiting. Imagine someone washing dishes mindfully. They're not lost in thought. They're not rushing. They're just washing and fully aware of it. It's an ordinary act. But in mindfulness, it becomes sacred because mind and body are united. Life is happening right there. When you live this way, you stop feeling the urge to control everything. You begin to accept that some things won't make sense. Some people won't change. Some wounds won't heal overnight. But even so, you remain present. You don't abandon yourself. Because peace doesn't come from life fitting your plan. It comes from learning how to fit into life with genuine presence. So, if today you're tired of holding on, tired of controlling, tired of trying to make everything go your way, pause. Take a slow breath. Place your hand gently on your chest and ask yourself right now, am I truly living or just trying to control? and maybe just maybe letting go. Even just a little is enough to bring you home. Back to yourself. Back to life. Back to this moment. 4. Loving with wisdom is true compassion. Love is sacred, but love alone doesn't always save someone. Sometimes in loving someone too much, you forget yourself. Sometimes, the more you love, the more you hurt. Sometimes, you give everything and still feel lonely in the relationship you're trying to nurture. That's when love needs to be guided by wisdom. Because without wisdom, love can easily turn into a burden. In Buddhism, there is a beautiful word, mahakaruna, great compassion. But the Buddha never taught compassion without discernment. He emphasized compassion without wisdom can lead to self-harm. You might love someone so deeply that you forget to eat to rest. You might sacrifice your time, energy, even your personal values. But if that person isn't ready to receive your love doesn't nourish them. It drains you. Without wisdom, love becomes endurance, disguised as kindness. You carry things that aren't yours to carry, thinking it's love. But loving someone doesn't mean you have to hold on. It doesn't mean you must always say yes. It doesn't mean you should always be the one who sacrifices. True love knows limits. It knows what belongs to you and what belongs to the other person. It understands that you can support someone, but you can't fix them. That you can walk beside them, but not walk for them. In the 4 immeasurable minds, metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, we often understand metta as loving kindness and karuna as compassion, but upekkha, equanimity, is the hardest. Because equanimity isn't indifference. It's the wisdom to know that everyone has their own path. Everyone must learn their own lessons. You can't dream on someone else's behalf. You can't walk for feet that choose the wrong path. And you can't hold on to someone who's already left physically or emotionally. You can only love with clarity. Love without clinging. Love while honoring yourself. One of the greatest myths people carry is, if I'm sincere, I will be loved back. But life doesn't always work that way. You can be sincere and be met with coldness. You can be kind and be mistaken as weak. You can forgive and still be hurt again. So don't let your kindness become the doormat others step on. Loving with wisdom means knowing. You can't open someone's eyes if they choose to stay blind. You can't wake someone who isn't ready to wake up. And that's not giving up. That's the deep understanding of love's limits. You don't need to love the whole world. You just need to love wisely. Love in a way that doesn't make you lose yourself. Someone once asked me, how do I know if my love is wise? I said, if your heart feels lighter. After loving, it's wise. If it feels heavier, that's attachment. Wisdom doesn't make you love less. It helps you love in the right way, at the right time, with the right person. You can still give, but don't give your whole life away. You can still be present, but you don't have to be everything everywhere all the time. You can still listen, but don't let someone else's voice distort your self-worth. Because at the end of the day, the first person you must love is yourself. To love others without loving yourself is to walk in the opposite direction of compassion. If you're in a relationship that's leaving you drained, stop and ask, is this love still a light, or has it become a chain? And if the answer shakes you, remember, no one requires you to sacrifice your soul. No one demands you carry a love that burns your heart dry. Only love, with wisdom, becomes true compassion. Because only when you are still aflame can you offer warmth. If you're just a burnt-out matchstick, then even your love is only ashes. 5. Attachment is the root of suffering. Have you ever held on to something for so long that it started to hurt? A memory, a person, a dream, an image of who you thought you had to be, an expectation that told you, if I don't achieve this, I'm not enough. And even though it exhausts you, you're still not ready to let go. Because somewhere deep in your heart, you believe if you hold on tight enough, it won't disappear. But have you ever asked yourself, what if what's causing you pain isn't that it left, but that you haven't accepted that it's already gone? In Buddhist teachings, there's a fundamental truth, simple yet hard to live by. Suffering doesn't come from what happens to us. It comes from our attachment to how we think things should happen. A person walks away, and you hurt not just from the loss, but because you thought they were supposed to stay. A dream falls apart, and you feel crushed, not only because it's gone, but because you think I gave it my all. Why didn't it work? A chapter ends, and you grieve not just for the ending, but because you didn't want it to end. You see, truth is quiet, but attachment is loud. It screams in your mind, forcing you to rewrite the past, control the present, and predict the future. And it's that inner screaming, that resistance, that creates your suffering. The Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's a deep truth. You don't fear loss until you cling. You don't suffer until you resist change. A breeze comes and goes. If you don't try to catch it, you feel its coolness. A river flows. If you don't try to block it, you feel its gentle rhythm. But try to clench your fist around water, and you'll only hold a few drops, losing the clarity of the stream. Attachment is like that. The tighter you hold, the more it hurts. The more you cling, the more you ache. The more you expect, the more you're let down. Sometimes the pain is already gone, but you still carry it. Not because you love it, but because you've become it. You've lived inside that story for so long, you don't know who you are without it. Letting go feels like losing yourself. But the scary part isn't the emptiness. It's that we lose our ability to live anew because we keep grasping the old. A flower doesn't bloom from a dead branch, and a new life can't begin if you're still holding on to something that no longer fits. The Buddha taught clinging to the self, to I and me, is the root of all suffering. Because when you believe, I must be this way, I have to achieve that, I can't fail, I must not be hurt, you've built a rigid identity, and then you expect the whole world to revolve around it. But the world doesn't move according to your image. It moves according to impermanence. Leaves fall, seasons shift, hearts change. It's not anyone's fault. It's the nature of life. You can't stop time, but you can stop resisting. And when you do, you begin to live differently. Not by forcing life to match your script, but by opening your heart to receive each moment, each person, each change as a necessary part of your journey. Attachment is a burden. Letting go is liberation. And liberation doesn't mean escaping to some faraway realm. It means feeling a little lighter, breathing a little deeper, being just a little more at peace right here in the middle of your life. And that is enough. If today your heart feels heavy, try asking, what am I holding on to that may be ready to be released? Is what I'm clinging to still right for me, or just familiar? If I let go, do I really lose? Or do I make space for something new to begin? You don't have to let go of everything at once. Just begin with one thing, one old thought, one worn-out hope, one sorrow that no longer needs to stay. And slowly, gently, you'll see pain doesn't dissolve because someone apologized. Pain dissolves when you stop believing you need that apology to be at peace. 6. Letting go is not weakness. It's inner strength. Most people think letting go means giving up, that you've lost, that you weren't strong enough to hold on, that you didn't have the courage to fight till the end. But is that really the truth? Sometimes the more you try to hold on, the more you lose yourself. The harder you try to save something, the deeper you sink. The tighter you cling, the more exhausted you become in both body and mind. And in those moments, letting go is not a weakness. It's strength. It's courage. It's wisdom. The kind that ripens after inner struggle, after you've given your all and realize there's nothing more you can give without breaking. I'm not talking about giving up easily. No, I'm talking about the kind of letting go that happens after you've shown up fully for something. You loved, you tried, you were honest with your heart, and then you realize holding on any longer would be betraying yourself. Letting go like that is a form of deep awakening. There's no blame, no resistance, just a quiet knowing it's time, and you exhale. Not because you've forgotten, but because you've accepted. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, like a hand uninjured can carry poison without harm, the mind free from attachment is untouched by suffering. He didn't say, don't feel. He didn't teach, don't love. He simply pointed to this: don't cling. And to not cling, you must learn to let go. Let go of your ego. Let go of being right or wrong. Let go of needing things to go your way. Let go of the need to be understood. Have you ever held on to sadness for years simply because you couldn't forgive? Have you held on to anger because you were the one who was hurt? Have you tried to protect your pride, your dignity, or an image of yourself even as it crushed your peace? I've seen many people like that, and I've seen light return to their eyes the moment they chose to let go. Let go of blame. Let go of the past. Let go of perfection. Even let go of a dream that no longer fits your soul. Sometimes, it's not that someone didn't apologize. It's that you're still holding on to the need for their apology before you allow yourself to be at peace. But you don't need someone's validation to feel worthy. You don't need closure to move forward. You just need to know that you've had the courage to release what's hurting you. Letting go isn't running away from responsibility. Letting go is refusing to keep doing something just because you're afraid of loss. Letting go is pausing in a race and realizing, this path no longer honors my heart. One time, a young person asked me, how do I let go when I still love? I smiled gently and said, letting go doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you stop hurting yourself with that love. You can still hold gratitude. Keep the beautiful memories. Keep the kindness in your heart. But you don't have to carry the pain. You don't have to forget. You just have to stop resisting reality. Stop saying, it should have been different. Because life doesn't operate and should have. It simply is. And you can choose to keep resisting or to finally rest. When you let go, something sacred happens. The air feels lighter. Your body breathes easier. Your heart softens and opens. You no longer need to control everything. You stop forcing yourself to hold it all together. And in that moment, you finally begin to live. Letting go is not weakness. It's strength that no longer needs to prove anything. It's the quiet power of someone who understands some things hurt more if they stay than if they go. And so you choose peace. You choose freedom. 7. Peace isn't perfection, it's presence. Have you ever thought you'd only feel at peace when everything in life is okay? When your job is secure? When your family gets along? When your health returns? When the person you love finally loves you back? When you hit your goals, finish your to-do list, pay all the bills, or get the recognition you deserve? If so, you're not alone. Many people live their whole lives chasing a perfect version of life only to constantly feel not enough. But pause for a moment and ask, when you finally do achieve something, how long does that peace actually last? A day, an hour, just a few moments before your mind starts chasing the next thing. That's the sneaky trap of expectation. It convinces you that peace is a destination, a prize you only get once everything is under control. But the truth is, peace doesn't come from a life without problems. Peace comes when you no longer need everything to be perfect in order to feel okay inside. Peace begins the moment you choose to be fully present, even if your life still feels messy, even if your questions are still unanswered, even if your loved ones haven't changed, even if you still have parts of yourself waiting to heal. To be present means you stop running from this moment. You stop living in the what-ifs. You stop waiting for someday. You simply stay with what is even when it's not perfect. You don't need a quiet morning to meditate. You don't need a spotless room to feel clear-headed. You don't need everyone to agree with you to claim your peace. You just need to sit down, place your hand on your heart, and breathe. Breathe like a gentle reminder to yourself, I'm here, I'm alive. And this moment is enough for me to begin feeling peace. When your mind stops comparing to yesterday, stops measuring the future, stops wanting something else, what's here right now finally gets to be lived. You don't need an ideal life. You need a deeply present heart in the life you already have. And that presence, when nourished, becomes the foundation for a very real kind of peace. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on who stays or who leaves. Doesn't depend on how well you perform. Doesn't depend on applause or praise. Because it comes from your connection to this reality, to yourself, to this breath that is quietly keeping you alive. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha spoke of mindfulness in 4 domains: the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. But at the core of all practice, there is one thing: being present with the body and mind right here, right now. No theory, no philosophy. Just knowing I'm breathing in, knowing I'm breathing out, knowing my mind is calm, knowing my mind is restless, no fixing, just awareness. And in that awareness, a quiet light begins to heal. You could be washing dishes, driving to work, sitting next to someone you love in silence. You don't need anything else to make that moment perfect. It is perfect because you're present. Presence is the simplest miracle, and the one we forget the most, because our minds are always pulled away by phones, by memories, by worry, by things we think are urgent. But real life never happens anywhere else. It only happens in the now, only here, only now. You don't have to force yourself to be happy. Just be present. So present that you can hear your own breath. Feel the warmth of a teacup. See the real color of a sunset. Hear what your heart is softly trying to say, and you'll realize something peace has never left you. It's just been waiting for you to come back, not by fixing every part of your life, but by simply being alive in each moment as if nothing is more important. And when that happens, you stop chasing peace. You become peace. 8. A still mind is a wise mind. When your heart is in chaos, it's easy to make the wrong decision. When your mind is in panic, even the right thing can appear wrong simply because you can no longer see clearly. It's not that you lack wisdom. It's that wisdom cannot function when the mind is disturbed. Just like a lake stirred up with mud. No matter how clear the water is underneath you, won't be able to see anything. Unless the surface becomes still, your mind is the same. When the mind is still, clarity returns. When it's scattered, wisdom becomes blind. Maybe you're facing a difficult decision. Maybe you've been betrayed, experienced loss, or are going through unexpected turmoil. In those moments, the first reaction is often fear, anger, or sadness. Your mind races, your heart panics, and it feels like you're caught in a storm. But what if you just stopped, just paused, and breathed? As the mind begins to settle, clarity begins to arise. Not someone else's advice, not a rushed judgment, but a quiet knowing from within, a kind of insight that only comes when you're still enough to truly listen to yourself. In Buddhist teachings, there's a quality called prajna, wisdom. Not logical intelligence, not book knowledge, but a kind of inner wisdom born from stillness, the ability to see things as they truly are, not clouded by temporary emotions. The Buddha didn't become enlightened by reading more books. He sat long enough, still enough to see the truth unfiltered by the noise of a restless mind. You can do that too. You don't need to be extraordinary. You just need to be still. Enough for what's right to arise and what's wrong to fall away. You don't have to force decisions. Just don't make them when your mind is still spinning. There's a quiet paradox in life. The more rushed you are, the more likely you are to be wrong. The more panicked you feel, the more your clarity fades. The more the mind runs, the more wisdom disappears. The more the mind rests, the clearer it becomes. Think back to the last time you felt truly calm. Do you remember how everything seemed clearer? You spoke softer. You listened deeper. You could tell the difference between reacting and understanding. That's the wisdom within stillness. And you don't need to wait for the world to calm down before you access that peace. Because life will always have waves. The question isn't, how do I make everything outside me calm? The real question is, how do I stop being swept away by it all? You can go through days full of noise, stress, and uncertainty. But if there's a quiet place inside you that remains untouched, you won't lose yourself. That space doesn't need to be big. You just need to return to it often. A mindful breath. An afternoon without your phone. A few minutes under a tree with no need to think. All of these are doors back to your center where true clarity lives. And when you live from that space of inner wisdom, you stop being ruled by emotions or circumstances. You start responding instead of reacting. You start understanding instead of judging. You start choosing your words, actions, and path based on inner clarity, not outer pressure. A still mind doesn't mean you have no emotions. It means you have emotions, but they don't drive you. You still feel anger, sadness, love, worry. But you are no longer a puppet to them. And when you live like that, you'll discover peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of clarity in the middle of problems. It's having just enough stillness to make the right choice. Just enough light not to lose your way. Just enough depth not to be thrown off course. A person like that, quiet but powerful. Not flashy, but grounded. Not needing to win because there's nothing to prove. That kind of strength. No one gives it to you. It only comes when you choose to pause, when you choose stillness over speed, depth over noise, stability over spotlight. So today, if your heart feels messy, don't force a decision. Pause. Be still. Breathe. Look inward. And then, when your heart is truly calm, you'll know exactly what to do. No need to ask anyone. No need for permission. No need to predict the outcome. Because a still mind is a wise mind. And wisdom, when it appears, always leads you where you need to go. 9. Let go of expectations to live in reality. Have you ever wanted something so badly that the very act of wanting drained your energy? Maybe you hoped someone would finally understand you. Maybe you imagined an outcome unfolding exactly as you had envisioned. Maybe you dreamed of a future that followed the perfect blueprint in your mind. A specific action, a certain response, something you were sure was supposed to happen. And when reality didn't match your script, you didn't just feel sad. You felt betrayed. Not by someone else, but by life itself. But here's the truth. Life didn't betray you. It just didn't follow your script. And the problem isn't life. The problem is expectation. Expectation is a subtle form of control. You think you're loving, but you're actually expecting the other person to respond the way you want. You think you're putting in effort, but you're expecting results to show up right when you need them. You think you're living in the present, but your mind is pulled into a future filled with ideal scenarios waiting to be fulfilled. In Buddhist teachings, there's a powerful concept called go with the flow of conditions. It doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming passive. It means releasing rigid expectations so that reality can reveal itself fully. When you let go of expectations, you begin to see what's actually happening instead of only seeing what you want to happen. You listen to someone speak, and your heart is open, not judging them by your standards. You do a task, and you're devoted to the process, not obsessed with the result. You're in a relationship, and you're present with sincerity, not constantly calculating what you're getting back. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop tying your peace to whether or not those dreams come true. Many people only allow themselves to feel at peace when everything goes according to plan. Others behave exactly as they hoped. Life stays predictable and stable, but life is always changing. People are always in flux, and even the most detailed plans can fall apart. If your sense of peace depends on expectations being met, you'll find yourself constantly shattered. You don't need to suppress your expectations by becoming numb. You simply need to learn how to welcome reality as it is not as you think it should be. A child doesn't smile at the right time. You don't need to feel disappointed. A friend doesn't text you back. That doesn't mean you're not important. A road doesn't lead to the outcome you hoped for. That doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. Every moment carries its own lesson. Every event, whether it matches your plan or not, is part of your awakening. In the Buddhist Sutra, Tam Dia, Quan, there's a beautiful line: the one who flows with conditions finds peace in the heart. The one who resists conditions lives with resentment. Expectation is what makes you resist what is. Resist the conditions. Resist life. And often, resist yourself blaming yourself for not being enough, not achieving enough, not arriving fast enough. But what if you just paused, just for a moment, and noticed what's truly here right now? You might see the soft light outside your window, a spontaneous, sincere word from someone you love, a quiet calm in your chest for no reason at all. Letting go of expectation doesn't mean giving up your passion for life. It means not letting your wants blind you to what you have. You can keep dreaming, but don't let your dreams make you miss this moment. You can keep striving, but don't measure your worth by what you achieve. Peace doesn't come after you finally control life. Peace comes when you no longer need to control it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to go according to plan. It just needs you here, seeing life as it is, living with an open heart. Because only when you release expectation can you finally touch the truth. And truth received without attachment always brings healing. 10. Compassion is not carrying it all. It's shining light where it's needed. Maybe you're someone who's deeply kind, thoughtful, sensitive, always trying to care for others, always open-hearted, always wanting to lift people up. You're always there because someone needs you. But one day, you feel exhausted. Not because you've stopped loving, but because you're carrying too much. Other people's pain, responsibilities that aren't yours, stories you can't fix, emotions you don't know where to place anymore, and you start asking yourself, is it wrong that I care this much? The answer is, it's not wrong, but it needs to be conscious, because compassion isn't about carrying it all. Compassion is about shining light with direction. You're not the sun meant to shine on the entire world. You are a lamp, and you must learn to shine where it's truly needed at the right time, with the right people, in the right way. In Buddhism, compassion. Karuna always walks hand in hand with wisdom prajna. You can't have one without the other. Because love without direction, without boundaries, without limits, can stop being nurturing and start being draining. You can love deeply, but you're not responsible for everyone's happiness. You can listen, but you can't carry the pain that others refuse to let go of. You can walk beside someone, but you can't walk their karmic path for them. There's a powerful image. Someone is drowning. They're thrashing in deep waters. You dive in to save them, but if you don't know how to swim, you'll both go under. That's compassion without wisdom. Compassion doesn't mean I have to be everywhere. It means knowing when to step in and when to step back, knowing when to speak and when to be silent, knowing whether someone truly needs your help or needs to learn how to rise on their own. You're not a blanket meant to cover the whole world. You're a flame, learning how to stay lit, warm enough to comfort others, bright enough to light your own way. Maybe you've asked yourself, if I don't hold them, who will? But sometimes, it's when you let go that they learn how to stand. When you stop doing it for them, they start doing it for themselves. And when you step back, you give them space to grow. Compassion is not about taking over. It's about illuminating the path so others can see. It's about being there without becoming entangled. Lifting others up without controlling their journey. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, there's a profound line. Boundless is the heart of compassion. Limitless is the power of vow. And one walks the path according to conditions. Compassion may be limitless in the heart, but your actions must align with timing, context, and conditions. Just because you care doesn't mean you must act. Just because you see something doesn't mean you must intervene. You don't need to play every role in everyone's life. You just need to show up fully in the role that matches your energy right now. You can take care of others, but don't forget to take care of yourself. Because if you're depleted, if your inner lamp burns out, no one gets the light. A truly compassionate person protects their inner boundaries. They know what to hold and what to let go. They understand that love isn't about staying in every conversation, fixing every wound, or agreeing to what's wrong. Compassion doesn't mean carrying someone else's walking stick up the mountain for them. It means showing them the way and trusting that they can climb it themselves on their own feet with their own karma. So if today you feel drained by all the people who need you, pause and ask yourself, is my love still glowing? Or has it dimmed from being spread too thin? Am I giving from fullness or from emptiness? And if the answer stirs something in your heart, that's your moment to return, to gather your light, to focus it again. Because when compassion has direction, boundaries, and wisdom to guide it, it doesn't run dry. It becomes powerful, clear, and true. 11. Suffering begins when the mind rejects reality. What you're going through right now may not be easy. A relationship has fallen apart. A plan has failed. A truth you weren't ready to face has surfaced. Or maybe it's just a heavy feeling you can't even name. Whatever it is, the suffering doesn't just come from what happened. It runs deeper. It comes from your refusal to accept that it is happening. You suffer because your mind doesn't want to believe it. Doesn't want to believe that person has changed. Doesn't want to believe that the dream you once held no longer fits your present. Doesn't want to believe that what you were once so certain of is no longer true. The event has already happened, but your mind keeps wrestling with it. You think this can't be real. You repeat, "It shouldn't have been this way. You hope if only I could go back." And that's where suffering begins, not from the reality itself, but from your unwillingness to let it simply be. In the Buddha's teachings, there's a profound truth. What is. Suffering arises when the mind does not agree with what is. You could be sitting in a quiet room, but inside, it's a war between what's really happening and what you wish were happening. A war between what is and what you think should have been. You may believe that if you resist long enough, push back hard enough, you might change it all. But the truth is, resisting reality doesn't change it. It only wears you down. Reality has no emotions. It's neutral. But your mind brings emotions to it. And if your mind is willing to open to see clearly, then what's happening is no longer your enemy. It becomes a lesson, a stage, a chapter of your journey. Acceptance doesn't mean agreement with injustice. It doesn't mean surrendering to pain. It means I see clearly that this is what's happening, and I choose to stop fighting it. Instead of the mind shouting no, it begins to ask, now what? What can I do with this reality? How can I move forward from here? And the moment you begin asking those questions, you are no longer a victim. You are someone fully alive, even in the middle of hardship. There's a powerful image from Buddhist meditation. A person has fallen into a deep well. They're not physically hurt, but they keep pounding on the walls, screaming, blaming, panicking, and in doing so, they hurt themselves more. But if they pause, take a breath, and look around, they notice the light above. And from there, they begin to see a way forward. The well didn't disappear, but the mind stopped resisting. And with that, clarity was born. You may be in a place right now you never expected, a situation you didn't choose, a sadness you never imagined. But this is where you are. And if you keep saying, "I don't accept this," you'll stay trapped in the loop of suffering. Only when you can finally say, "Yes, this is happening. I don't like it. I didn't want it, but it is what it is." That's when the trap begins to loosen. The Buddha said in the Dhammapada 1, "Who does not resist suffering is no longer ruled by it," because suffering is not a flaw in life. It's part of the human experience. It's not wrong. It doesn't need to be erased instantly. It only becomes a problem when you think, "I shouldn't be suffering." This isn't supposed to happen. That person shouldn't have done this to me. Life should be fairer than this. You think you're hurting because of the truth, but you're hurting because of your expectations layered on top of the truth. It's the expectation that today should look like yesterday, that someone should remain the person you once knew, that you should stay the same even as life pulls you in new directions. The more you fight it, the deeper the spiral. But when you let go, not of the situation, but of the resistance, the pain softens. You begin to see more clearly, hear more deeply, breathe more fully, and little by little, you return back to the present moment where things may not be perfect, but they are real, where you no longer have to pretend, no longer have to control, no longer have to resist. Just be, breathe, and accept. Everything is just as it is, no more, no less, not labeled right or wrong. And in that quiet acceptance, you begin to truly live, not in a script you wrote long ago, but in what's real right here, soft or sharp, bright or dim. Suffering is not caused by the event. It's caused by the mind refusing to accept the event. So today, if your heart feels tense, tight, or trapped, ask gently, am I resisting reality? Am I hurting myself by refusing to accept what is? And if the answer is yes, it's okay. That means you've started to see. And once you see, you can choose differently. No need to fix it all at once. Just breathe and let go of the resistance. Acceptance feels like a hand unclenching. And with that softness, suffering begins to dissolve. 12. Peace is not created. It has always been there. Many people spend their whole lives searching for peace, as if it's something outside their reach, something they can only have after everything settles, after the sadness fades, after others change, after they themselves become better. Have you ever thought that way? That someday, when life is finally perfect, then you'll feel at peace. But here's the truth. Peace isn't something that's born. Peace isn't something you create. Peace has always been there. You just forgot it beneath the noise, the busyness, the endless striving. You don't need to become someone else to find peace. You only need to stop becoming for just this moment and return to yourself. In meditation, people don't sit down to create stillness. They sit down to notice the stillness that's already there beneath all movement. Like a lake, even if the surface ripples, the deeper waters remain calm. Peace is like that. It's not a reward. It's the foundation beneath all you're doing, feeling, thinking, reacting. You can be walking through a crowded street, balancing a hectic schedule, and still be at peace if you simply remember to return. Return to one breath. Return to your body. Return to this moment, the only place peace ever lives. This return doesn't require ceremony, just a pause. A quiet awareness, I am here, right now, and I need nothing else to feel whole. Suffering doesn't come from lacking peace. Suffering comes from believing you have to do more to get peace. And so, you chase it. In relationships, in achievements, in praise, in long meditations, in books, courses, healing methods. These may help, but only if you remember, nothing outside can give you peace if you don't first choose to turn inward. You can't place the world's silence into your heart. You must look within, where peace has never left. In the Buddhist scriptures, the Buddha never promised to give peace. He simply pointed the way back. And he taught, where there is mindfulness, there is freedom. This freedom means not being pulled by illusions, not being swayed by circumstances, not tying your peace to how things should be. Because true peace doesn't come from the absence of noise. It comes from not being shaken by the noise. Maybe you're living through a turbulent time. The world is changing. Your loved ones feel distant. Finances are unstable. Health brings concerns. Your emotions rise and fall. And you wonder, how can I possibly feel peaceful in this? But ask yourself this, isn't this exactly when you need peace the most? A place inside you that you can return to any time. No preparation needed, no permission required. Just sit, be still, do nothing, and observe. Watch your breath in and out. Notice the outside sounds and the inside sensations. No judgment, no fixing, no rushing. Soon, you'll begin to feel beneath all the movement, there is space, a ground, a quiet you once knew. As a child, when you played alone without needing approval, when you watched the clouds or listened to rain, not to achieve anything, when you simply were without trying to become. Peace never left you. You just wandered too far. You followed the world's demands. Do more. Be better. Fix yourself to be accepted. Achieve more so you can finally rest. But still, you felt empty. Because peace isn't at the finish line. It's in the pause. Pause to see. Nothing more needs explaining. No one needs convincing. Nothing lost needs clinging. The moment you stop and accept I am here, I am breathing, and this moment is enough. Peace gently appears. It doesn't arrive with fanfare. It's not a miracle. It simply returns, like an old friend you forgot you ever had. You don't need to force peace. Just let go of the belief that you must earn it. That quiet isn't found out there. It's inside you. Try this, let your heart be still, even if life isn't. Take a deep breath without expecting anything. Pause in your busy day, not to find something, but to come home. Because peace is not created. It has always been there. And if you simply remember this, it's enough. When you realize peace doesn't need to be created, only remembered, then every moment becomes a doorway to serenity. No perfect life needed. No silent place required. Just your full presence right here, right now. If this message touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Buddhism Seeds, a space where we journey together through Buddhist wisdom, emotional healing, and mindful living. I'd love to hear from you. Where do you find peace in everyday life? Leave a comment below. Your story matters deeply. See you in the next video, where we'll continue our path back home to the silence within. Buddhism Seeds, where peace begins within.